Good morning. My name is Marisol Dision, and thank you for joining us for Women of Influence's January LinkedIn Live, The Real Cost of Scaling and How to Get It Right. This event is sponsored by TD. Today, with the help of our three featured guests, we're discussing what it takes to scale successfully and impactfully a business and sustainably as well. Joining me this morning are Annie Laplante, President and CEO of Groupe MMI, Julie Dimitri, National Manager, Women in Enterprise, TD Business Banking, and Gabriel Badiuk, Relationship Manager, TD Commercial Banking. Now, before we kick things off, because we have a lot to talk about today, I would like to invite our valued viewers to please share comments and questions in the comments section. My colleague Lou will be monitoring your questions and comments, and we will try our very best to get to as many of them as possible. All right, Julie, all set to kick things off. I'm starting with you.
Excellent.
Amazing. Now, recent TD research shows that many women entrepreneurs cite scaling, access to capital, and cash flow as their most significant challenges. From your perspective, what does this data tell us about how women experience growth in practice?
Yes, thank you, Maricel. So I have the privilege of leading a team and a strategy within TD Business Banking, specifically called Women in Enterprise. So our goal is really to empower women entrepreneurs and help them. And so recently we celebrated our 5-year anniversary, and an exciting milestone. So I worked in collaboration with WEC, which stands for Women Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub. And we wanted to take this opportunity to really understand what our women entrepreneurs in Canada are feeling when it comes to really their experience around borrowing. And so, as you mentioned, we did this big study, and some of the data that was shared was quite interesting. So the first one, as you mentioned, was that 53% said that scaling was their number one challenge, followed just by a few percentage at 49% with funding. And so we found that very exciting because we love the fact that women are identifying their desire for growth as their number one focus. But when we also asked these, same women entrepreneurs across Canada, when we asked them why they haven't sought financing, actually what we found that 43% said they don't need the funds. And so we found that a little bit maybe contradictory, because if you have money in your bank account, if you have capital, your mindset is really focused around growth. And so we thought, okay, there's something there. And then the second piece of data is that 39% said they still use their own funds, which we know can be very limiting, again, in your growth and your scaling aspect.
I'm just taking a moment to write some of these statistics down. Can we dig a little bit deeper into that contradictory data point, Julie? So where do you see, using that data point, I guess, as an example, where else do you see the biggest disconnect between ambition to grow and the conditions that are required to do so successfully?
Yeah. And so, in that research, we found that also 37% are worried about the repaying that debt. And so I get it, right? Women, a lot of us tend to be a little bit reluctant when it comes to borrow. And this is, having been in this role for a few years now, I speak to a lot of women entrepreneurs. This is not a one in a few. This is a lot of women that are very reluctant to borrow. They're nervous about the repayment aspect. And then I would say, think about it, right? A lot of people don't like the fact that the bank asks a ton of questions, but we do. Your banker's going to ask you many questions. They're going to look at many different aspects, because at the end, they want you to succeed. They want your business to be viable. So if they say that, yes, you can borrow, 50,000, 75,000, 300,000, or 1.5 million, it's because based on your projections, your plan, and the analysis that they've done, you will be able to repay. And your banker's really going to be there to help you along the way, continuously make these important recommendations. As a previous entrepreneur myself, I did not seek that advice. And I did not know that there were so many different products and solution, small lendings, bigger lendings, different products that even the government supports startup businesses. And had I known, maybe I would have taken different decisions. And so I think, again, these data were very conclusive for us, because there's really a disconnect between this appetite for growth, but this reluctant and this discomfort in borrowing or seeking money, so that you really build your growth mindset.
Thank you so much, Julie, for kicking things off with us. With that, I noted something that you said here. Had I known, because you were an entrepreneur yourself, as you mentioned, you said, had I known, I would have made different decisions. And that's why conversations like this are so important. So both your expertise and Gabriel's expertise, but we invited Annie here to add some lived experience, some color to the conversation. So Annie, turning to you now, when you hear this research, when you hear Julie share some of the findings that she's uncovered, what reflects your own experience in scaling your business?
Been there, done that. Same thing. So as women in business, we have a lot going on, and we're often feel very responsible and fearful even sometimes to scale, because success comes with excitement. This is what you want, but it's also scary. So the comparison that I would be able to show, especially today, because I know a lot of us were in parts of the country where we had a lot of cold and snow. So it's like driving. When you learn to drive, there's some circumstances where you have to press on the brake because you're going to avoid an accident. You want to be safe and secure. But my dad taught me, sometimes when you're stuck or you're about to have an accident or you're about to go somewhere else into a new lane, you need to press on the gas, not press on the brakes. So knowing what to do when is super important. So what I think in terms of banking or any other business decision is educate yourself. So again, a shout out to those on the call today, is to learn what other people have done, cycles of success, and surround yourself with mentors that will give you the confidence that you need to believe in yourself and your product, and then know which is the best steps in the long run to do. Do you borrow? Do you not borrow? What are your next steps? And then to plan accordingly.
And Annie, just staying on this thread, when you look back, what are some of the early decisions that shaped how your business ultimately scaled? If you could, let's simplify that even further. Could you break it down maybe into 3 points, just so they're digestible for our audience members today?
Right. So I think it's important. I had 4 points, so I'm going to.
Oh yeah, let's go with 4. That's absolutely fine.
3 points. Oh no. Okay, so guide me along if because we had a conversation before what we want to share with people, and I wholeheartedly want to share it with other women entrepreneurs, to learn the lessons right away. Learn it from us, because then you're going to avoid all the problems. It's always better when you learn it from someone else. So ask for advice, get a mentor early. That's super important. The other is to have a system. So we went with Scaling Up with Vern Harnish, and we got the books because a lot of my team, we grew into our roles. Success found us early. We doubled 1 year in success. And so hyper success or hyper growth is scary. Then you got to know what to do when. So we found the language, the common language we could all understand within this book. And within this book, it splits it into 4 columns, which are the people first, putting the right person in the right place. So surround yourself with an awesome team. I had an awesome team early on. I would ask people who is the best in the industry in this domain. I would go for lunch with them and I would pitch them. Can you come and help me? This is what we're building. These are our values. This is our big, hairy, audacious goal. Can you help us? So ask for help. As women, we don't ask for help enough. We want to do it all on our own. We think we can't ask for help. Ask for help. And then the people, then comes the strategy. You need to know exactly what your strategy is. You build it on your values. That was very important for us. It's humans first before it became a thing. So for us, that's very important. We treat the employees as super important because they have the contact. We are a cleaning business. So for us, it's like a vehicle. The cleaners are important. It's a vehicle to realize their dreams. And we want to de-stress the owners of businesses or the departments of businesses from that. So we care about them too. So it's having that approach. It was very strong in our strategy and building systems, execution. We had to have a meeting rhythm. We didn't even have meetings at the beginning. It came so fast. That discipline to systemize the business, it's tempting not to, but you must do it early on. And then the cash element, I think that we're talking on this call too, because cash doesn't come right away. And that's the scary part. But if you have a plan and you consult experienced bankers, then it will come if you have that support. So that's early on what I would say. The team is super important. Believe in yourself too. Believe in yourself. Go for lunch with these people. And then when they say, wow, that's amazing, I want to work for you, or you have an amazing idea, then you just have to grow legs under your mission and strategy and run with it. So that's what I would tell people that are on the call today, no matter what part of their journey it is, and to remember to enjoy themselves, because we are so stressed out as women. Enjoy the process is what we wanted. We're empowering people. It's incredible what a group of intelligent people gathered together with a common goal can accomplish, and be very proud of what you're building.
I will attend any TED Talk that you do, Annie. You're so inspiring. I just want to summarize for our viewers. So the 4 points: get a mentor early, create a system. That system includes how you develop your people, how you manage your cash flow, and how you manage the execution of your business. Something as seemingly simple as your meeting cadence. Cash is a big portion, and that we're going to get to that in our discussion. And then, of course, belief in yourself. Gabriel, I'd like to shift things over to you, if you don't mind. Now, from a banking perspective, where do entrepreneurs most often underestimate the complexity of scaling their business?
Right. Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me on the call. Appreciate the invite. It's always nice to be on the same call with Annie. I mean, we work together, but it's always inspiring to hear your stories. So I jotted down a couple of notes, and I would say the main points, or actually the main point, there's one principal one, is entrepreneurs are usually people, that like to get things done. And when there's a project on the table, or when there's growth on the horizon, more specifically, they want to grow everywhere at the same time and do everything at once. And so, I mean, in my personal experience, or professional experience rather, where we've seen success of businesses and entrepreneurs growing, is with people that have a very clear objective, I would say, or a very clear point where they want to grow, or through which vehicle or which project or which contract they want to grow. And sometimes focusing on that one item first and making sure we get the little things done properly and really nailing that point down. Like Annie said, I mean, once you've got a plan, once you got a team, once you got structure, the cash will come. And that's usually where, once the ball gets rolling, that's where it gets really exciting, and you can compound that growth and keep building on top of it, and keep building success on top of success. So I would really say focus on the key point or the key contract. Make sure you're dedicating your resources, your knowledge, your mentors, your team around you, to really nailing down that one point, and then building on top of that.
Can I ask an off-the-script follow-up question, Gabriel, if you don't mind?
Of course, go ahead.
What, in your long experience working with entrepreneurs, is there a certain repeatable or a pattern or a recipe or clear signs that a business might not see, but you see, that where it's time to grow, where there are clear levers that you can pull for growth that the business owner might not see because they're so deep in the proverbial weeds? Are there any, similarities that you can share with us?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, businesses are so different from each other, right? There's not like a specific item I could say, but often, I mean, the main elements of where I've seen businesses really miss the opportunity to grow is I'd say businesses have been just doing the same thing for, let's say, 20, 25 years. And, they're satisfied with that. And that's a good thing as well. I mean, it's completely viable, but often, like I said, these businesses have the structure, have the team, have the knowledge of what's going on in their industry or with their product or with their contracts. And they're actually the ones that are the best positioned to pull the so said lever and grow, right? So maybe to summarize, I would say a business that really masters what it's doing. And it doesn't have to be through, like I said, a 20-year-old business. It can be done in a couple years or even 6 months, depending on the team you've got surrounding and the people that are in the right roles. That's another big one. But if the entrepreneur has like a sort of feeling that, listen, there's always your day-to-day, operations, always something going on. But if you're able to take a step back and you say, hey, like, let's take a look at our finances, it's pretty stable. Let's look at our operations. We know what we're doing. We're, a well-oiled machine and things are going well. That's usually a good time and a good moment to take a step back and say, where can we grow? What defines us as a business? What can we offer that other businesses we compete with don't? And work on that.
Wonderful. And one more out of the script question, but it's not me this time. It's actually one of our viewers, Priscilla. Thank you, Priscilla, for joining us. Priscilla's asking, what is the biggest challenge entrepreneurs face in the first year?
That's a good question. I'll throw my banking point of view, of course, and then maybe Annie and Julie can chime in with something else here. But on the banking side, I would say, actually, on my end, the most difficult challenge is you don't have historical data to provide, let's say, to your banker, right? So you don't have a history of proof or a history of, I'll call it performance or numbers, so to say, that you can show, right? So this brings you to essentially what you can bring to the table is year-to-date results of what's been going on, and this just makes having a plan so much more important. And believing in your vision, like Annie said, you have to believe in your projects, obviously, and that's going to be a huge part of selling yourself to your banking relationship. I mean, I threw this out in the previous conversation. Like Annie mentioned, we had an offline conversation. It's a French expression. I think it fits here, but it's you have to be, tu dois être convaincu pour être convaincant. So you have to be convinced to be convincing. And in the first year, I think it's just as important, if not more important than at any other stage of the business, is you really have to be convinced of what you're doing and the structure and the team you've got around it.
Anything to add, Julie and Annie, before we move back to the originally planned schedule?
Well, I would add before Annie jumps in that we see this a lot. Women tend to be very passionate, and often that is the start of why they start a business, because they're passionate about something and they want to, live it and share it. But I think at the beginning, often because we're so passionate, we tend to do too much. And so the first year, it's very important to focus your energy in the product or the service that really defines you and build that, so that when you go to the bank or when you're, convincing other people, you're really strong in one area. Sometimes people they start too many products, they have too many SKUs, or they have too many services, and it's hard to find your real space. It's better to do less, but to work really smart and focused in that area.
Wonderful. And Annie?
Agreed. Focus, focus. Especially some of us that have the personality of becoming CEOs. We want everything yesterday. I had to learn. It's not a snap of the fingers. You have to have a schedule. So therefore, you need that scaling up framework where you put the right people in the right place. And there's like charts that you can order, so you know what's missing. Do I have the right person? Am I missing someone to build the team? Don't pick like yourself, especially as owners. Don't do everything yourself. Delegate when it's at 70% that they're capable of doing things. Trust the process. And then again, the values, what makes us unique and different. Do the exercises, have these regular meetings. And then when you meet quarterly, because we meet weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually. So when you meet Quarterly, you have a little bit of runway to what Gabriel was saying. If you have some things that you measure to see, are we in the right direction? And I've made mistakes. We've course corrected. It's okay. But you have time to course correct. And again, ask advice. Ask advice from mentors. They've done it before. For them, they'll be able to guide you. And it's not like I belong to CEO Global Network. I have mentors in the banking world. I've gone to the Ivy Business School Quantum Shift program. Be a leader that demonstrates what you want from your leaders. Educate yourself. And if they have a responsibility, tell them to go educate, pay for their education, and then your product, your dream will come true.
Wonderful. Thank you all for those answers. Very, very helpful. Annie, staying with you. Now, as you grew Groupe MMI, how did you decide what to fund with capital and what to protect?
Again, education. I made mistakes. At one point, we had a situation where I got lulled by the sales of, the capital people that approach business owners and they promise you the moon, but then you don't realize that the percentage of interest is very high. Been there, done it. Paid it off, learned my lesson. So go to the bankers. If your relationship is not good, by the way, a pro tip, bankers are allowed to have lunch with you if you're going to be a potential customer, even when you're a customer, right, Gabriel? And then discuss your business in that context, because we're shy. We think we have to know everything. Be humble, be authentic. They will want to help you. My expertise is cleaning. I did it when I went to school. I have people around me that know what to do. It's not banking. So I'll ask them, educate me. Every time, Gabriel, I ask you, educate me. What are we doing? What could we do better so that you can help me more? So by doing that, you won't make funding mistake. And another mistake we do is using our own money. Been there, done that. It's so hard not being aware of grants that are available to you. Sometimes we are afraid to spend money on an expert. You spend 1 hour with that expert and you will save a lot of money in mistakes. So do your homework, be comfortable with your advisors, and not be afraid to use money as a tool to make more money.
Gabriel, I'm going to shift back over to you. How do you help your clients evaluate growth decisions when the downside of risk is significant?
Right. So a couple steps. First one, like Annie said, usually the entrepreneur has, their specific expertise. And actually a note I have for throughout the whole process is defer to the experts. Depending on what step you are, the first step being understanding the business, defer to the entrepreneur because nobody knows the business better than them. For the finances, the growth, the planning, the ratios, that type of stuff, refer to the banker. They're there to help you. Like Annie said, we're usually very approachable. We're here to answer questions. We're also here to ask questions, but it's a two-way street, right? So we like to use that. And if there's any market research or market intel or very specific, I would say, parts of the business that needs to be worked on, improved, or leveraged for the growth, we have business networks as well, and we have people working in many different industries and different roles that we can leverage, or that you can leverage through us, actually, and get some meetings going, get some lunches, and get educated. So other than trying to provide that knowledge or provide access to that knowledge, obviously everything that is the financial planning or the financial forecast, you're going to need to output some ideas or some assumptions. We can help guide those assumptions, help evaluate those assumptions. That's something we do a lot, is work the financial forecasts that we receive with the client or potential client and make sure, from what we've seen from previous clients, from previous files, from other maybe industry related files, do these assumptions make sense? Are you heading in the right direction? And that type of stuff. So essentially leverage the knowledge. We like to provide that knowledge, or like to think that we can provide that knowledge, and use us as a guide for the financial stuff. Like Annie said, everybody's got their expertise. Downside of the risk, obviously the first step we can do is calculate the ratios from where you are today, and then take a look of where you need to be tomorrow, right? Does that make sense with the project? Does that make sense with the schedule or the time horizon you had for the project? That type of stuff. And at the end of the day, I mean, if you're going through the banker to get some funds for a growth project, they're going to be kind of the ones, you know, setting up the conditions, the contracts and whatnot. So it's always a good idea to have a pre-talk and make sure, like I said, you know, we're checking all the right boxes and adding it to the right place. So essentially, how do we help give access to the knowledge, provide the knowledge, and help guide through the process?
Wonderful. And Annie, if we can just add some color and texture here through your experience, how do you approach risk before committing to a major decision?
Well, a lot of us owners, we see opportunity to be picked up on the table everywhere, but you need people around your table that are different than you. So make sure you have a good team, those that are more conservative, those that have a financing background, and your banker. And recently we used our banking team because you're never too small for these things, because what happens in if you have a really good idea and you do things super well, you grow to a medium-sized company, and eventually you're medium to large, and your needs will change as you grow. So your risk aversion might change because if you have momentum, you have cash, then it helps cushion things. So again, a tool that a lot of people are familiar with is the SWOT analysis. I know it's old, it's simple. S for your strengths, your weaknesses, the opportunities and the threats. You do it with your team, involve them, so you get their buy-in. Because when the going gets tough, and I've been through some tough years, then they'll support you through it. We have sayings. We say jusqu'à, which means until. We do not abandon a goal that we have set for ourselves until it succeeds, but we will throw off the ship the things that are not working quickly. ROI, know your return. That bottom line, know what it is. Because you might be in love with an idea, but it's like Julie said, you spread yourself too thin. Too many good ideas can stay in your core business, your focus. And so again, these are decision filters that helps you see things better. Also, again, to ask around the table, be the last one as the owner to speak, ask around the table, because you can influence people. Go, yeah, sure, it sounds like a good idea, because you're in love with the idea. Mm-hmm. So ask around the table, be the last person, look for blind spots, and then press on the gas. Do it. Have the courage to do it. If all the numbers are good.
I'm sorry to interrupt. You said you're never too small, which I think is a great comment that leads into my question for Julie. I really want to talk about the role of financial advisors and bankers and working with a banker and finding the right one. Now, many women entrepreneurs say they want banking relationships that demonstrate an understanding of their business context. In practical terms, what does that kind of relationship look like during a growth phase?
Yeah, that's a big one. We actually saw that from our research. Again, it confirmed that 72% of women are looking for really an advisor that understands them. So I am very proud to say that we have ever-growing community of we bankers. So we have over 350 bankers that are in the field, that they're experienced bankers, but they also raise their hands to go and get additional training to make sure that they work with women without biases and really understanding often our preferred way of communicating as women. And as Annie said, women, we tend to feel like we need to know everything before we go ask questions. And so our we bankers are there really to fill the gap, make you comfortable to ask questions, make you comfortable to be nudged in certain direction. Like Gabrielle said, like often we will share education and so a lot of clients that work with our we bankers will say like they feel supported, they feel seen, they feel guided, and that's really the focus that we want. So I give you an example, of typical passionate woman worked, in the corporate world for a very long time. She's always been passionate about plants. And so she saw this plant store. She was able to, okay, I'm going to go buy it. I'm going to change my life. And then, she saved, she wanted to get that done. She went to the bank. She was going to use all of her retirement money to buy that plant store. And so when she met with our WeBanker there, the WeBanker took time to really understand her goals, her situation, and actually provided her with a completely different solution that's called the CSBFL. So it's the Canadian Small Business Loan. And really, this is a government program that the banks can use with you that really allows you to scale and start a business. And she did not have to touch 1 cent of her retirement, which is her backup plan. Again, we want you to be viable, and we want you to make sure your financial situation on the personal side is strong as well. And a completely different story, just to give you a different perspective, again, of this advice. We were working with a small tech company that focuses on catering work, right? So lots of money coming in and lots of money coming out. And they were kind of struggling with, paying all these vendors until they actually get paid by the big corporation. Often the big corporation will take 60, sometimes 90 days to pay them. So we were able to give them access to a small line of credit, not a big one. It was a small one at the beginning, maybe a little less than what they wanted, but we were comfortable that they would be able to repay that one, right? And so quickly, because their businesses grew, because they were very focused, we saw their habits, and working proactively with their banker, the WeBanker was able to help them, access more and to make the line of credit bigger. So this way we can really build on the habits and have that proactive approach with them. So these are, two different examples of that proactive advice and making sure we meet you where you are and how we can help you grow based on, what would be safe and viable for you.
Julie, I see a few comments here just from our viewers, and some of our viewers are early stage entrepreneurs just starting their business. And just going back to Annie's comment earlier, you're never too small. Would it be true to say it's never too early to, for example, reach out to a woman in enterprise, to TD, for example? I know women in enterprise might deal with a different revenue scale, but would it be fair to say it's never too early to start seeking that advice, to start building that relationship?
I do. I think so. And again, that's why I use my personal experience. Gabrielle touched on this before. Annie touched on this before. Even if we can't land right away, right? Because you are really, really, really at the start, we're still there to provide you advice on what you will need. So at least you can plan for it. And a banker works with entrepreneurs all day long. They see what has worked, what hasn't worked. And if we cannot, we can still provide you guidance around where else we can guide you. So we work with an organization called Fundica. It's actually a Montreal-based company. And this is a service that TD pays for our customer, where Fundica, you can access it on our website. And it's a very quick way. It's an AI-based business. It's a very quick way for all entrepreneurs to figure out what are the different grants, what are the different programs across the country that exist based on the type of businesses that you started and where you are in the country, all the grants that are available for you. So we know time is scarce for entrepreneurs. So this helps you access everything that would be accessible for you very, very quickly. So this is another option that you would learn about if you were to go meet with a banker early. We work in collaboration with BDC that has different programs. There's different association across the country that also help entrepreneurs just before, like Futurepreneur. We work very closely with Futurepreneur. They help with microloans before the bank can help you. They can help you. So you hear about these type of options when you meet with a banker earlier. So no time, doesn't matter. We want to help.
Well, thank you, Julie. Keeping on that banking relationship discussion, Annie, during our pre-call, you shared a few tidbits about what, in your opinion and your experience, made a really strong banking relationship. As your business scaled, what became evident as valuable marks of that relationship? What do you look for? What would you advise our viewers to look for in that relationship, or come to expect out of it, actually?
We changed banks a couple of times until we found a good fit. So if the relationship is not strong, you don't feel supported, or you don't feel seen, or that it's a good relationship, then look for that, because it's essential. It's really, really important I didn't know that option. It's so good now. I wish I knew that then. I didn't have it. I was in the desert by myself, and I was led to believe that bankers are a little scary. They're like policemen. They're checking your, no. They're on your side. They want you to succeed. It's a misconception that you have, that you see the guy in the suit and no, it's not there to check you, to scold you. It's there and ask in advance, what are the ratios I'm looking for? I went to the hairdresser the other day, and she was telling me that she didn't have a good banking relationship at all. And they're looking to scale. So they only have 2 locations. And I right away recommended TD Bank. I said, they're awesome. And even the person that I put them in contact with, they were too small now, but hey, they have all kinds of goals. They'll be bigger tomorrow. So look for the people that can help you grow at this stage, and that will tell you, oh, now you're at a different stage. You need different insurance. Maybe my accountant was too small. And we went to TD and we said, can you recommend people that you have worked with? Because it's hard to shop for these services and not be, you feel like you're not knowledgeable. And Gabriel recommended a couple of firms, and we chose one. Thank you very much. We're super happy. And in fact, we did our year end this year, and we realized, oh my word, we weren't doing it right. We had to scale. This was super important that we did this. So having that relationship and being able, it's like when you have children and they don't fit in their boots anymore and their clothes, you gotta change, and so having that close relationship with the banker will tell you, okay, you're ready for the next stage. You're not small banking anymore, you're commercial banking. Oh, okay. What does that entail? So then you graduate, because you're driving so fast the business that you don't see it coming. You don't even realize. I always thought I was a small business forever. And they're like, no, Annie, no, you're medium, a good medium size now. Okay. I didn't realize, because we are busy in our businesses to take the step back, which brings me also about leadership, but I think that's one of your next questions.
It is actually. So moving on to that question, and I also just want to be mindful of time, because I'd really like to close out with some guidance and some tips, just some closing words from all of you. So quickly, Annie, at what point did scaling become more about leadership than operations?
When the founder, or I'm second owner, is not micromanaging everything, is when it brings value at the beginning, it's execution, doesn't matter about the form. Then when you have to have a system, then you have to delegate. And then now there's teams that are involved. Pick the right people and let them do their job. Don't go and meddle, you're slow the machine down. That you have to learn that leadership difference. So if you're always in operations, you could be a hindrance to your own business. And eventually you need to replace yourself. So yes, when I'm there, I'm adding to the production, but you want to set it up so that it runs itself eventually. So you want to build up your leadership team so that it's strong. And there's a lot of books on that and mentorship for that, so that it's a progression. When did we notice that? We doubled one year, and then I was afraid my leaders are going to burn out. That's when we needed, okay, step back, let's plan this and train the next generation, which brings me to succession. Plan the next people that are going to replace them. I'm always telling, if my leadership team is in a coma, what do? Have a plan B. Mm-hmm. Always know who's going to pick up, what's going to happen, write it down. I was a very oral company. I think we talked about that. Write your systems down, prepare. And we're trying to qualify for ESG and having high rate. So you have to write everything down. Your systems have to be duplicatable.
Yeah, that's full circle, Annie, to what you mentioned before, the 4 things, right? Having that system, focusing on your people, because when you have those 2 things in place, at the very least, one, you're not surprised. You can kind of proactively see when your leadership team might be burning out or might be hitting an edge point. And then you've got a system in place that you've documented, and that can help you through. Thank you. So we're almost at time, but I have 3 questions for all of you. Annie, for women entrepreneurs approaching their next growth phase, what, in your opinion, is the most important question they should be asking themselves?
Do I have a mentor? Do I have the right team around me? Do I have a good relationship with my banker? Get those, ask for advice, then move into your next phase.
Wonderful. Julie and Gabriel, what is the most important question women entrepreneurs should be asking their banks?
I would say, and I would say, how much money can I access to grow? So I would go with a banker, and like we touched on, we know women on the call or folks on the call are at different stages of their entrepreneurship journey, but you need to know how much you would have access to have the probability of seeking out these opportunity, whether it's hiring one part-time person that alleviates some of your time, or purchasing another business, or buying another commercial unit. Like, if you have money in the bank account, you can focus on those growth milestones.
Absolutely. And to add on top of that, I would say, listen, if you're looking to grow anytime soon, if you have a plan to grow anytime soon, make sure the plan is solid. Call up your banker and ask them, what do I need? How this is what I'm planning to do in the next months, in the next year, next 5 years, whatever the horizon is, and ask them, how do we get there? And get that conversation going. Like I said, leverage the knowledge. We've seen other businesses do it, not always in the same field, but we've seen success. We've seen cases where maybe better planning was required. And we know a lot of people that can help. So leverage all of that for sure.
Yeah. And if it doesn't work right away, at least you will know what you need to do to get there, right? That's exactly the planning piece. Right. And it's okay, right? Not everybody has everything ready. You're not expert in everything. So that's why advice is so important. And surrounding yourself, as Annie said, with people that can guide you. It's okay.
Absolutely. Because sometimes the next best step is clarity, and just having that clarity. Yeah. Annie, and if I could squeeze this in for you as well, Julie, because you are also a successful entrepreneur. If you could revisit any early inflection point in your entrepreneurial journey, what perspective would you want your younger self to have about growth and growing her business?
I would say, trust in yourself. You know what, girl? You got this. Okay, you're going to be afraid. Make sure you calculate everything. My dad always said, you measure twice, you cut once, but you got this, and it's going to be wonderful. And don't be afraid and say, oh, what if I fall? What if you don't and you rise? And think about all the families that work with you, the lives that you can influence for the better. And I would say to myself, remember to have fun. Don't worry so much. That's what I would tell my younger self.
I would say, well, so the first thing was believe in yourself, but I nailed it, so I'm not going to do that. But I would say, to complement that, know your worth, right? And I know on the video series we've done with Women of Influence, a lot of our women entrepreneurs talked about this, because women do things because they're passionate. And so often we discount our products and our services because we want to do it, we want to help, but we're still worth it. And often we should probably sometimes maybe charge a little bit more, but we're so passionate about what we do that we discount it.
Great advice. And I'm going to plug that in there. In partnership and relationship with TD, Women of Influence has produced this incredible video series. Annie Laplante is featured in one of those videos. And the beautiful thing about these videos, it is lived experience shared vulnerably and transparently, and shares the realities of navigating growing one's business and the different inflection points that women entrepreneurs have faced, how they navigated them. So when Annie talks about go out there and find mentors, yes, sometimes those mentors are, real life mentors. And sometimes it is an incredible video of a woman entrepreneur sharing a piece of her entrepreneurial journey and perhaps providing you some clarity or another perspective that you can look at your business with. I'm seeing some comments and questions here. Folks are interested and excited to get in touch with all of you. So if I may ask, just one housekeeping before we log off, if Julie, Gabriel, and Annie, if you could please drop in the comments the best way to contact you with any questions, with any comments about today, that would be lovely. Thank you all for an incredible discussion. I'm sure that many will tune in and replay this. Is there anything else you'd like to leave our audience with before we officially close this off?
If anybody needs to reach out to me, if they want encouragement, or if I could do anything to help you, I offer myself. I want to pay it forward. People helped me. I would like to pay it forward. And either in my services, in the businesses that I do, or even personally, I will gladly be open to you.
Yeah, I'll say, I mean, if there's one thing to take away, obviously, is ask the questions, whatever it may be, growth, other projects, uncertainty, ask your network, ask around. People are there to help.
I have the privilege of leading a wonderful team across the country. They are regional manager, women in enterprise. And so if you want to have just an introductory, exploratory conversation around where you are in your business and what type of next step, and whether it's a banker in the small business banking space, a banker like Gabriel in the commercial space, we can make those warm introduction for you and put you in contact with somebody that has their Women in Enterprise accreditation. So please don't hesitate. You can connect with my team and myself. We have all our name and our coordinates on our webpage, which we'll share.
Yeah, we'll drop that in the comments. Well, that brings us to time. It went by so quickly. Annie, Gabriel, Julie, thank you for such an incredible conversation. And as always, to the Women of Influence community, appreciate your time this morning. And we really hope that was helpful. It's been an absolute pleasure. Have a fantastic rest of the week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.